Hello, everybody, and welcome to Good Vibes FC. I'm Sam Mewis, coming to you from the Women's Game World headquarters in Vermont, where I just made chicken wings on the grill, and I ate one standing over the trash can really quick before we started recording this, and I'm going to go eat the rest when we're done.
Oh, that sounds great. Hi, I'm Becky Sauerbrunn. I'm coming to you from Portland, where I just got done with training, and Sam, I had a shocker of a training session, and not in a good way. It was atrocious. Yeah, it's, like we played 48 hours ago, so it's a little bit of a lighter session. So we started off the session playing a little like tic-tac-toe, but you have to do like a little technique to get to where the tic-tac-toe board is. And I was so bad technically, and also my mind, I could not play tic-tac-toe. At one point, I thought I was the other team, and I looked at the board and I was like, oh, I can make the winning move. And I actually won the game for the other team. Like, that's how bad I was.
Becky, why?
I don't know. There's a lot of things happening here in Portland. I think I just had an off day today. I picked it up in soccer tennis, and then by the time I got to small-sided possession, I was like, okay, I am actually a soccer player again. I got there, but it was an atrocious start.
Yeah, well, that happens sometimes. Can you explain to us a little bit, when you have a lighter session, why did you play tic-tac-toe? Like, what was the team getting out of that you like implement this game into like a little skills session?
It's a fun way to kind of get the competitiveness up. And as you know, soccer players are wildly competitive. So you're getting like those juices going. You're also like, okay, there's a technique aspect to it. So maybe it's going through a little obstacle course with cones, or you have to juggle. And then you get to the actual tic-tac-toe where you're like, my brain needs to kick on and I need to make smart decisions and not win the game for the other team. And so it's just after like an off day. We also had a baby shower that we all went to. So it was just like a fun way to get going in training and try to get everything sharp, your mind and your body.
Well, those games are usually so fun. I want to hear more about the baby shower. Was it for a teammate?
Yeah, Bella Bigsby. It was for baby Belliot. She won't tell us the name of the child yet. And so it is the combination of Bella and her husband, Elliot. So baby Belliot, as of right now. Lovely shower. What a great perspective to like, yes, we play soccer and that's very important to us. But then also, yes, we have a mother on our team who's about to give birth. And it's just like, what a great perspective to be in the sun, having some mimosas, celebrating Bella and Elliot. And Klingenberg and I went in together on this really cool stroller. So I feel like we actually won the baby shower.
Oh my God, props to you. That is incredible. I know what you mean about perspective. If you want a little bit more perspective, listen to what I've been up to. I made homemade butter. That's what I'm doing out here.
Wow. Like, how did you do it? Like, what was the method?
You just take cream and then you just put it in the stand mixer and then you just mix it up and it turns into butter.
I mean, science.
It's actually so cool. So like first it turns into whipped cream, and then eventually when you keep mixing it, butter separates from the buttermilk, and you can tell it's done because it's all splashing around in the buttermilk. And then all the butter is like kind of inside the whisk. And then you just like, now I have a thing of buttermilk and I want to make pancakes. And then I also have like this thing of homemade butter. It's like pretty cool.
You just got so excited, and I am now more excited as well.
I know. This is what waits for you, Becky, on the other side of soccer someday, is the possibility of making homemade butter.
I can just see you like on your porch, just churning up some butter.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. Okay, so butter and baby showers aside, if you have been living in a hole without internet, there is also big news out there in the rest of the world. There's a new Taylor Swift album, The Tortured Poets Department. It dropped last week. I have been listening to a select favorite couple of songs a lot of times over and over. Becky, have you listened to anything?
I have not, and it's not because I'm not a fan. I am a big Taylor Swift fan.
Yeah, you've had a lot going on. You've been busy. Well, I'm going to tell you my 3 top favorites, and then I'm assigning you to go listen to them. Okay, The Black Dog, Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, and So High School. Becky, the whole thing with this album, are you writing those down?
I will.
I thought you were looking off to the side to write those down. Okay, the thing with this album is that like Taylor Swift dated Joe Alwyn for like a long time. So we were all expecting this to be the breakup album from Joe Alwyn. But it's, according to the songs and the lyrics and the breakdown, it's actually more like the breakup album from Maddie Healy, who's the lead singer of the 1975. And then there's some good Travis Kelce songs sprinkled in. But it's like a very like wide spectrum of songs. And some of them, The Black Dog, I've been I've listened to it 10 times. It's very, very good.
Oh, very cool. Okay, so I have now written it down, so I will listen to it.
Okay, amazing. I also wanted to tie this back to soccer somehow. Do we think Taylor Swift is going to show up at a Kansas City Current game? She is friends with current co-owner Brittany Mahomes. She's in Kansas City a lot. Like, what would we think if we saw that?
The internet would melt. Kansas City as a city would melt. Like, I don't even know. Everything would just it'd be amazing. And I could totally see it happening. She seems like she would be down to support women's soccer. So
I know. She's just so cool. So I'm curious now. There was another big singing event this weekend at Victoria Beckham's 50th birthday party, showing her and all of the other Spice Girls singing, "Stop right now. Thank you very much." For anybody who doesn't know, it's a throwback Spice Girls. I know me and Becky both know. Becky, hot take here. Which thing, Tortured Poets Department release or Spice Girls reunion, which thing was a more important cultural event for us over this weekend?
that's a really unfair question.
I know, it's impossible.
I don't want you to do this to me because I feel like no matter how you answer, you're just going to get just a lot of criticism. But as someone who has been to both of their concerts before, I would have to say probably Spice Girl reunion.
I feel like Spice Girl reunion super important. In my algorithm, more talked about Taylor Swift, fair enough, but of equal wonderful importance in the world. I'm so happy about both things. We want the Spice Girls reunion. We stand Taylor Swift. That's the end of that.
We got a lot of love.
Yeah, it's all love. Okay, today on the podcast, the Thorns are back. I'm so happy for you guys, Becky. I can't wait to talk about your game. The Kansas City Current can't stop scoring, and the international NWSL players are crushing it. We are going to dig into the latest in the Chaos League. Also, the Champions League semifinals kicked off this weekend, and Chelsea made their mark, handing Barcelona their first home loss in 5 years. We're actually joined today by all-new special Good Vibes European correspondent Betty Glover to dig into both matches, and she tells us what to look for in the upcoming second legs this weekend. Plus, we're going to highlight what's coming up this weekend for you to watch, and we have a very important question from listener Betsy that will reveal who in the NWSL is the number one clutch hair braider for games. Becky, I picked this question out special for you because you get that fishtail thing.
I can't wait to answer that one. Oh,
I know.
Yeah.
We'll get to all that. But before we do, we are the self-anointed. I know everybody's been waiting for this for the last 10 minutes as me and Becky have been catching up. I'm Candyland. Becky is Scrabble.
I'll take Scrabble.
Of women's soccer because this weekend was a roll of the dice just like in a board game. So we're doing board games.
Woo!
That was so enthusiastic. You are so Scrabble, though.
You think so?
I do think so.
I feel like I would definitely be a word game. So I was like Boggle, Scrabble, Bananagrams.
See, I guess you could be any of those, but let's keep those in mind as we move forward. Do you think I'm Candyland?
I mean, 100%, Sammy. You just churn butter for fun.
I know. I mean, come on, and I'm just sweet.
Totally.
I actually recently saw Candyland, and it's literally the simplest game of all time. It's for 3 to 5 year olds.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely played that when I was 4 or 5 year old.
Yeah, I think I probably played that a little bit too long of my life because I thought the board was pretty. Okay, let's get into the soccer. We need to talk about a few of the biggest matches this week. Orlando versus San Diego was a real game of sorry, I think, because the Pride did shock the wave. They won 1-0.
Oh.
Orlando's Summer Yates scored in the 26th minute, and overall I thought that she had a great game. She's a second-year midfielder from the University of Washington. In other big news, Banda made her NWSL debut for Orlando in the 62nd minute and then proceeded to create a ton of chances. There's been so much fanfare over Banda, and rightfully so. She's the Zambian striker who came over from Shanghai Shangli, where she scored a massive 41 goals in 52 games. She came over on a $740,000 transfer fee and a 4-year contract, which is one of the largest all-in contracts in NWSL history. Overall, Becky, I feel like Orlando looked really good. They outshot the Wave 20-4. And it was kind of an uncharacteristic performance from San Diego, but it was their second game in a row on the road where they looked a little bit flat. They tied Louisville away last week, and they seemed frustrated to me in a couple of moments. Also in bad news, Alex Morgan came off with an apparent ankle injury, which left San Diego with 10 for some of the game. We hope Alex is okay, especially with camp and Olympics around the corner. Becky, were you able to catch any of this Orlando-San Diego game?
I did. Yeah, I got to watch a bit of it, and I agree with you. If I had to choose a game, I was probably going to say like Connect Four, because I thought Orlando was just like bopping that ball around.
Yeah.
And yeah, when Barbara came in, I was like, oh, like very exciting. You could feel the atmosphere. I even think the commentators mentioned you could feel people just getting super excited every time she was touching the ball, and some really good chances for her as well.
Yes, I definitely agree. I thought it was inevitable that she was going to score. I was like, it's just too exciting. She has to score. So it was so exciting to see Barbra Banda come on, and I'm so excited to see her continue with this team the rest of the season. The Wave do have some attacking prowess incoming. So before Friday's trade deadline, the Wave signed former Houston Dash forward Maria Sanchez. We actually reported on this last week. Maria had requested a trade, and she'll now slot in probably at left wing for the Wave. So Becky, I'm interested in your thoughts on this tactically for San Diego. This might allow Jaden Shaw, who's also U.S. Women's National Team 10/winger, to shift in to the 10 position if Maria Sanchez is going to play left wing for San Diego. Do you think that's just a positive, like win-win for everybody? They're gaining a great winger, and now maybe Jaden can play more of that 10 position. How are you thinking about that tactically?
Oh, I think it's such a win for San Diego. I think anytime you get a player like Maria Sanchez, wherever you put her on the field, she's just going to add a lot of creativity and technique and fluidity. And so even if they interchange and maybe you spot Maria inside and Jaden outside sometimes, I could see them doing rotations where they're both kind of setting each other up. But that's a nice problem to have, is how you're going to slot all these players onto the field.
I know. I feel like it's a good injection of like positivity for San Diego because they've had a weird couple of weeks. I want to move on to Kansas City versus Bay. Kansas City won this game 5-2. We need to put a board game on this game.
What do you got? What do you got?
I have a couple of options, but I'm going to go with Hungry Hungry Hippos.
That's great.
Because we knew this game was going to be like a scoring fest. We were kind of like, both teams are scoring a lot and also kind of letting up a lot. But it was exactly the game we thought it was going to be. 5-2, 7 goals. Bia Zanarado and Temwa Chewinga both scored braces for Kansas City. Bay FC got goals from Kayla Sharples and Tess Bodie, but they just couldn't get enough back on the board. Kansas City scored 2 in the first 6 minutes. Bay responded in the 18th, and then Kansas City run away with it with back-to-back Chewinga goals in the 56th and 62nd minute. I'm sure everybody just heard Finn barking. I'm sure there's just a leaf blowing by the door, and he's making sure that the house is protected. So Kansas City are undefeated. They have 17 goals on the season. The second highest tally is 10. Vlatko came into the current after the worst U.S. Women's National Team World Cup performance in our history. I'll just brush right over that. But Becky, what does this run at Kansas City say about Vlatko's effect there? And what do you see the current is doing that the national team wasn't? What's clicking in Kansas City for Vlatko?
That's a really great question. And stick with me on this. I'm going to do a little bit of analogy here.
Great.
So with the national team, players are like puzzle pieces, and they're kind of just already set in their pieces, their shapes. You know, you talk about the skills that they have. And so as a national team coach, Vlatko has basically these finished puzzle pieces, and he has to create the most full picture he can in order to play against another team with the tactics that he wants to play. Now, when you're a professional coach and you're with these players day in and day out, these puzzle pieces are more malleable. And so you can do extras after practice. You can do film every single day. And so now I see with Kansas City, Vlatko's working with these players, and he's kind of changing them so that they fit together. Apparently really good right now, as you can tell. I've always thought Vlatko thrives on the day in and day out working with players and developing them. And so I see him changing these puzzle pieces and helping these players really gel together because he has the time to do that when you don't necessarily get that with the national team.
I think that makes total sense. I'm so glad you explained it that way. And a player I've seen be really positively impacted by this is Vanessa DiBernardo. Whether it's Vlatko or it's Vanessa, something is clicking for her there in Kansas City where she's providing assists, she's scoring goals, she's dangerous. She looks like one of the best players on the field every game she's in. And maybe that is Vlatko's daily influence on her, working with her, showing film, kind of having that ability to get out of her what he's looking for and what the team needs.
Yeah, she's like a key puzzle piece, fitting everything together.
Oh my gosh, your analogies. Your board game should have been like Cranium or like something just like genius. Puzzle's also a board game, so this whole thing is just really wrapping up nicely. Becky, we're going to enter into your game now. Portland versus Houston. Congratulations. You won 4-1. You guys righted the ship, and I need you. You've already been throwing out so many good board games, but throw us out one more that describes your game against Houston.
Life. Just
Game of
life.
Yeah.
The game of life. Yeah, the ups and downs, just the journey.
It's a climb.
It is. It's definitely a climb.
Okay, before we get into the specifics of the game, there were a few changes for both clubs. So Portland had a coaching change, kind of a huge deal. Rob Gale, former assistant coach, took over as interim head coach for Mike Norris, who was shifted to technical director. Becky, how did this go down? Like, obviously, a leadership change, restructuring of the whole thing has a huge impact on the players and the team and the club. What are your thoughts on the leadership shift, especially in the wake of your team having kind of a slow start?
I think it's really unfortunate that we got to a place where this drastic of a change needed to happen. And as a player, there's such a human element to this. I know that soccer is a business, but there is a human element. And so I just feel so bad and so guilty that I couldn't help the team have a better start to the season in order for us to be in a better place than where we are, basically. And so if something has to change, usually it is the head coach. Like, that's just how it is. And it's really unfortunate. I'm really happy that Mike just kind of did like a lateral move to technical director, because I think he has so much to give to this organization. He's such a good guy. He works so hard. He really is great at processes and analyzing soccer and patterns and trends and things like that. And so we have now Rob, our assistant, and I think him and the staff, the technical staff, have done such a great job of taking this transition and injecting new, exciting moments. Like, he's putting his stamp on things, but not changing it so drastically where it's not recognizable to us. And so I think it's given players this sense of a new chapter. It's the same book, but it's a new chapter. And I just can't give enough credit to the staff for helping us through this transition, but also to the players being very adapting to this change, because it is a big change. But if we think this is a cure-all, we've got another thing coming. There are still a lot of things that happened at the beginning of the season that we as players really need to take accountability for and make sure that we are constantly addressing them going forward. One win is not going to change everything.
Yeah, I want to just go back and touch on something you said at the beginning of that, where you said you feel guilty. And I want to just, say, you're not feeling guilty because you as an individual did something wrong. I think what you're saying is you feel guilty because you feel so connected to the club and you wished all of you could have done more to help the team be in a better position. But I wanted to ask you to just kind of elaborate on that a little bit for our listeners who will probably want to know more about the dynamic of what might make you feel that way.
Yeah, as a leader of this team, you're almost kind of the intermediary between the staff and the players. And so if there's a disconnect, one of my roles as a leader is to, how can we connect again? And if there are issues or conflicts, how do we address them? How do we all get onto the same page? Who needs to compromise? Do we both compromise, meet somewhere in the middle? And so I just feel like in my role, I don't think I did a great job of getting everybody onto the same page. And I think you could see that in some of our games where we just seem a little disjointed. And whether it's tactics or whether it's the non-negotiables, and all the players just aren't bringing their most authentic selves and what makes them into these games, I feel like I did not do a good enough job bringing that out of everybody. And so that's where I feel really bad about this situation.
It's incredible to hear that you have that kind of accountability for yourself. And again, that's what makes you such a special leader and captain. And I'm so glad that the new structuring has injected some positivity and some new life, as you said. And it did show in your game. You guys won 4-1 against Houston, who, as we noted, had just lost their star attacker in Maria Sanchez. So Houston's attack had a little bit less bite, but they did make two signings in Maria's wake. Brazilian center back Tarciani on the third highest transfer fee ever. She's a 20-year-old defender playing for Corinthians. and a starting center back for the Brazilian national team. We saw her in both the Gold Cup and the She Believes Cup in the back for Brazil. It's not a like-for-like move, so tactically this may still be leaving Houston with some gaps up top. They also signed Angel City's Paige Nielsen, another defender. So big moves at the back of the Houston defensive line. And Becky, this brings me to my next question for you. All we seem to be talking about these days are new record transfer fees and signings of strikers from all around the world. These strikers are coming into the league and they're scoring all the goals that we hoped that they would. Chewinga and Bia for Kansas City, Kanu for Louisville. I could keep going. But Houston, the team that you played this past weekend, they're showing a different focus. They're shoring up their back line amidst all of this attacking hype and headlines that's going on. What does that move say to you?
Well, first, I just love that, the center backs and the defenders are getting some love, and that, yes, goal scorers, they're so exciting. Sure. But you need solid defending. And the way that Houston plays, and even as I was playing against them, the way that they play out of the back, they are setting play. They are doing a lot of work back there, and they play themselves out of some real pressure moments. I was across the field being like, oh, bravo, well done. How did you do that? So the way that Houston plays, it makes sense that they want to bring in defenders and a strong Brazilian presence. I think Paige Nielsen is such a steady, solid defender. The way that they want to play out of the back, I think you need to bring in these types of players.
Yeah, for sure. So Portland and Houston, you're both entering the game kind of near the bottom of the table. You're both desperate to get things back on track after big news in the headlines all week. And then in the 6th minute, of course, death, taxes, and Christine Sinclair taking care of business. Christine Sinclair is the only player to have scored in every NWSL season since the league has existed. Sophia Smith took a shot and Christine Sinclair cleans up the rebound. Becky, was this just an early sign to you and your team, okay, we're getting back on track?
The first thought was oh, this is a nice change, because we hadn't at all led in a game this year. So I was oh, this is a pleasant change. In no way was I oh, we're back. I was more okay, I need to go talk to the coaching staff to make sure that we're defensively set up for the rest of the game.
Okay. So it was just step one. And it's true. It was just step one in this game. In the 27th minute, Sophia Smith on the high press does it all herself off a bad touch. She takes the ball off of a defender, gets in on goal, beautifully finishing with her left foot. But then, moments after halftime, Diana Ordonez gets one back for Houston, and now it's 2-1. Did this start to be oh, shit, this might be happening again? You've been in so many matches that just haven't fallen your way this season, and now it's back to being a 1-goal game. Was this moment a big deal, and how did you guys adjust to it?
We definitely got a little tight after that moment. What was great is that we came together as a team right after Ordonez's goal and just kind of huddled up, and we were we are not letting this happen. We have played too good to let this game slip away from us. And so from then on, I think we still struggled a little bit. We were a little bit tight. We weren't as fluid. We weren't taking as many risks. And I think we slowly started to get that momentum back. And then I think that led to our 3rd and 4th goals.
You read my mind. In the 87th minute, Olivia Moultrie gets a goal closing the door on Houston. Again, it was all created by Sophia Smith, who took on 3 defenders, found the pass, and gave Olivia a yard to slot it home. This game was very Sophia Smith, underline highlight Sophia Smith. How important has Soph been to this team creating the chances that it needs to win?
Oh, I mean, she's critical. She's crucial to the way that we attack. And I'm not sure if you noticed, but she also played a little bit more wide this game. And so I think that set her up to be in some more 1v1 moments, especially if you're playing against a 3-back, trying to isolate the outside center backs. Always a great tool, especially if you have someone as great as Soph 1v1. And she's just so annoying as a forward, because as a defender, you can feel like you have played a solid 89 minutes. And then you just have one poor minute and she's going to have a couple goals and a couple assists on you. So annoying. Yeah. So
annoying, but she is just so good. That does kind of excite me, the idea of her playing a little bit wider. She was playing out wide for the national team a little bit as well, and I do like that. I think she's so dangerous out there, and she had a huge impact on your game, creating and scoring goals the whole time. In the dying minutes, though, Janine Becky intercepts a pass at the half. She gets alone on net, finishes, makes it 4-1. Thorns' first win of the season, and it was a statement win. What's the mood like in the team now? Do you guys you have this new start, new attitude? Do you feel like you've moved on from the first few games and the coaching change? How's the team feeling?
I would say whenever you win a match, vibes are going to be really good. I do think we know that it's just 3 points and the season is very long and we have a lot of work to do. And so I think the staff and the players this week have done a really good job of dealing with this change and adapting, and Rob's putting his stamp on things and changing things up a little bit. And so, we're all very open-minded. And so, but we know we have to keep this going, this train going. The momentum in this league, it's a chaos league. So you just have to keep pushing every week and just keep learning from your mistakes. We're not going to forget these first few games of the season because we did learn a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like you shouldn't forget them. I think it's such valuable experience. And I know your Portland team has so much experience, so many great leaders, so many great players. So I think you guys are going to continue your rise right up the standings. I do have to mention, we can't get into all 7 games, but across the league, there were a few standout performances that we have to mention. Like Mal Swanson for Chicago, she sealed a 2-1 win with a goal and an assist. And she looks like she's just doing as she pleases out there. I am hype on Mal right now. She looks so good. I also have to mention Croy Bethune, the Spirit rookie. She scored a beautiful goal from 30 yards out, leading them to a 2-0 win over Gotham. Uchenna Kanu for Louisville. She continued her scoring streak with her 4th goal of the season, along with Savannah DeMello, who scored a brace to help Louisville get their first win of the year. And then Claire Emsley. She scored twice for Angel City. One of them was a beautiful free kick with her left foot. They had a hard-fought win, 2-1 over the Courage. Those players stood out to me this weekend, in addition to everybody else that we talked about already. Before we finish with the NWSL for this week, it's time for the Olipop Gut Check of the Week, brought to you by our wonderful friends at Olipop. Let me take a sip really quick. Gotta lube it up for the Olipop Gut Check of the Week. Becky, this is my idea. I want to do a way too early MVP gut check of the NWSL. There are a lot of standout candidates. I might rattle a few off, but I don't want to sway you.
Okay.
Do you have a front runner in mind?
I do.
I'm going to rattle off a few people I was thinking. Mal Swanson. Oh, obviously, Sam. Temwa Chewinga. Bia Zanerato. Alyssa Nair. Vanessa DiBernardo. There's 3 Kansas City players on that list of 5, which sounds biased. Becky, tell me what you're thinking.
I have to go with Chewinga if I were to pick a way too early NWSL MVP. I think the way that she finishes, the way that she just carves up defense, she has it all. And I think teams really have to change the way that they defend against her. And when you have to do wholesale changes like that, you know that you're playing really well.
She is a really good pick. It is a long season. We know this is crazy, you guys. Don't come for us. It is a crazy thing to do this right now, but it's the Olipop Gut Check of the Week. We had to do it. If I had to pick just one from this list, you know how badly I want to say Mal. I just think Mal has been back on fire, doing so well. But I'm going to really quickly talk about Vanessa DiBernardo again. I think as a midfielder, her impact on the games has been so huge. And for somebody who's been in the league for so long, to see her having this impact on this team, it just feels like the right fit for her. And I think we're going to see more of this from her. Tons of great players. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who make their way into this list, and I'm really excited to see that. But that's our Olipop Gut Check of the Week for this week. Thank you again to Olipop. You all are amazing. Listeners, go grab an Olipop. I'm drinking root beer. Those were our way too early NWSL MVPs, but let us know who yours are. Comment below. Share with us. Who do you think the NWSL MVP has been so far this season? Let's chat about the Champions League semifinals. Both semifinals were this past weekend, but it's just the first game of 2 legs. So Chelsea is leading against Barcelona 1-0 off a brilliant goal from Aaron Cuthbert, our favorite Scottish magician since Minerva McGonagall. Pause for Becky to laugh.
Clever.
This game, Chelsea-Barcelona, was like Battleship. It was just 2 juggernauts just going after each other. Just pew, 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 pew.
I like it. I like that one a lot.
Great. Sound effects and all. And then Lyon completed an incredible comeback against PSG, winning their first leg 3-2. Lyon scored 3 goals in 6 minutes after Marie Antoinette Katoto scored a brace for PSG. This game was more like...
I think checkers.
I love checkers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, class. What a class game. But I feel like PSG starts off well. They're making moves. They're eliminating some pieces. But then Lyon gets to the other side of the board and they get queened. And all of a sudden they're just double jumping people.
Backwards. And it's like,
Backwards.
what happened?
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. So these games were incredible to watch, but part of my original vision for the women's game was to build out a network of correspondents around the world to add to all of our understanding of the global game. There's just so much football going on that it's kind of impossible for any one person to know everything. You'd have to watch like 15 games every weekend, and I'm doing my best, but I'm not quite there. So today, for the first time on Good Vibes, we've brought in a correspondent to weigh in on these Champions League matchups. Betty Glover is a football reporter based in Manchester, England. She works across men's and women's football, covering the Premier League, the Women's Super League, the Champions League, and more. She also occasionally hosts Early Kickoff, our 10-minute roundup of all the news and headlines from around the world of football. That's created by the Men in Blazers Media Network. You can find Early Kickoff on its own podcast feed. Just search for Early Kickoff in your podcast app and hit subscribe. So I spoke with Betty earlier today. Let's listen into our conversation. Hi, Betty. I am so excited to have you here with us on Good Vibes to chat about the Women's Champions League semifinals.
Hello, Sam. Thank you so much for having me. I am joining you from a very wet and raining Manchester with a really grey sky. It's just living up to its name of bad weather, but here we are.
I do love Manchester so much. I know it rains a lot, but it is still, like we talked about, it's just one of the coolest cities ever. Okay, let's get right into this. First up, for Champions League, we had Chelsea beat Barcelona 1-0 on Saturday morning. Erin Cuthbert scored a beautiful goal for Chelsea in the first half, and Chelsea closed it out in the second half, not really offering Barcelona much in terms of attack, which is uncharacteristic for Barcelona. It was Barcelona's first home loss since 2019. Betty, how big of a surprise was this? What did Chelsea do right in this game?
Oh, I mean, it was quite something, wasn't it? I also just don't think anyone was expecting it. Chelsea did the impossible, won away at Barcelona. Obviously, Sam, the job is only half done, but Chelsea were just brilliant. And they're in such a brilliant position, aren't they? I think it also shows the immense progress that they've made in European competitions under Emma Hayes. And I was watching the players walking in off the bus before the game. Barcelona just looked so serious and tense pre-game, whereas Chelsea, they looked happy. They were joking around with each other. They were a lot more relaxed. Not sure if that played a part at all. I don't know whether Barcelona just weren't quite there mentally. When you were a player, did that sort of thing make a difference, do you think?
I think it definitely did. I actually remember specifically playing against Barcelona in a Champions League game when I was on Man City. And I was so stiff and nervous before the game that I think we didn't perform well. We didn't bring the joy or the connection. We were all kind of in our own heads and we ended up losing that game. So it kind of sounds to me like Barcelona maybe was missing that approach, that kind of love and joy and just happiness connection out there on the field. They ended up only having one shot on target despite having 66% possession, which again is just uncharacteristic of them. So why do you think it wasn't clicking for Barcelona in front of goal?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I think they just weren't at their best. Emma Hayes said that post-match too. And Kira Walsh said that Chelsea just played this sort of like intense and very aggressive football in midfield. And it meant that Barcelona basically just didn't move the ball quickly side to side like they usually do. I think Chelsea basically just overloaded the centre of midfield. And the key thing here is that I just don't think Barcelona adapted. And Chelsea defended with a back five, didn't they? Which I just think worked an absolute treat because, like you say, Barcelona didn't have a shot on target until stoppage time. But also, the key thing is like in football, and you know this as well, you just need a little bit of luck sometimes, don't you? And I think Chelsea got that bit of luck. Alexia Putellas is missing that massive chance with the final kick of the game as well. Her shot went wide. I don't know how she missed that. But then also that penalty being ruled out is just that little bit of luck for Chelsea. And sometimes you've just got to ride that luck.
I agree. I thought that Jess Carter had such a great game defensively. I feel like Chelsea just kind of having that ability to stop the chances before they were clear. They did a really great job defensively. And Champions League is something that's eluded Emma Hayes and this Chelsea team. In order to kind of finally cross that hurdle, what does Chelsea need to do? I mean, obviously continue stopping. Barcelona has all these incredible attacking talents. But what else does Chelsea need to focus on if they really want to earn this spot in the final in Bilbao on May 25th?
I think same again. They've just got to do same again. Emma Hayes put on a tactical masterclass, didn't she? So rely on a little bit of luck. Barcelona are such a great team. And Emma Hayes said after the game that they've previously struggled at home against Barcelona before. They've got the momentum. That's the key thing. And I think if they can get that early goal, put the pressure on, that would be absolutely key. They're going to need to take their chances. They've got to be clinical. They've got to be ruthless because Barcelona are going to want blood, aren't they? They're going to be out there for revenge. And it's so hard to call, isn't it?
Such an amazing opportunity for Chelsea to be playing at home. They have the lead, playing into that occasion and using the momentum that they do have. I want to dial in a little bit more specifically about Emma Hayes, future manager of the U.S. women's national team, who's been in a little bit of under fire lately in the media. She had a moment with Jonas Eidvall after the Conti Cup final, and then she actually recited poetry in lieu of addressing the situation directly. So just some mixed reviews in the public. And I want to know, Betty, how are these situations being received in England?
It's so interesting, isn't it? She's probably had what she would describe, I think, as quite a draining few weeks on and off the pitch. Back-to-back defeats under Emma Hayes is just unheard of, isn't it? You had to travel back to 92 competitive games to December 2021 to find the last time that's happened. So Chelsea have faltered a bit on the pitch, as has Emma as well. Remember in March, she described relationships between players as inappropriate when talking about the difficulty of managing players in relationships. She got so much backlash for that online and in the media as well. She had to apologise for her poor choice of words, saying that she really let herself down. I think there she probably deserved a little bit of benefit of the doubt personally, because I think she just worded what she wanted to say, not in a great way. 2.5 weeks later, she then pushed Jonas Eidvall, Arsenal manager, at the end of the League Cup final, criticised his male aggression when talking about his touchline manner. Then in the next press conference, she recited the poem, like you said, when asked about this again. She came in for such heavy criticism for that as well, because she just wasn't taking responsibility and apologising for the push. Some say that she was using it all to deflect from her players' poor performance. But since then, I've noticed that I think she's really been a lot more reserved in press conferences, hasn't she? A bit more hesitant. I don't think she wants to have a joke as much anymore, which I personally think is a massive shame. And the issue is that people expect perfection from Emma Hayes because she has been perfect for such a long time. She's been a spokesperson for women in football, for women's issues generally in sport. She's had the confidence to speak so confidently about issues across the board that not a lot of people have the confidence to do. And I think recently there's a lot of pressure on her to sort of have this fairy tale ending with Chelsea, and she's misspoken and she's made a couple of mistakes. And in my opinion, I think she has gone through such a tough time recently in the last few years, if you think about it. And she's carried on working at the top of her game. You know, she gave birth in 2018. She had an emergency hysterectomy in 2022. Her father died in 2023. And in that time, she's won WSL titles, FA Cups, League Cups. Everyone has dips in form. Everyone sort of gets it wrong. And I think the key thing here is I just don't think US WNT fans should be concerned at all, because she is such a good manager. And that's proven with all of her success at Chelsea. Her end to Chelsea isn't necessarily following that Hollywood script that I think a lot of Chelsea fans had. But having said that, if she wins the WSL and the Champions League, then that's arguably going to be her biggest success ever. So she's had this dip in the road, but I don't think it's as bad as everyone is making it out.
Yeah, I mean, certainly a complex issue, but I so appreciate, Betty, the way you are allowing for nuance here. Thinking about Emma Hayes' success overall is overwhelming. And to imagine, yeah, she is kind of juggling two teams right now. She is going through a big transition in her career, coming into one of the most high-profile managing positions in the world in the women's game. So I appreciate everything that you said. Certainly room for criticism and certainly room for there to be some grace as well. I'm definitely really excited for this Chelsea-Barcelona second leg matchup, but I want to move on to Lyon's crazy comeback win over PSG, with Lyon scoring 3 goals in 6 minutes after trailing by 2 goals. As a neutral party, it's everything you want from a football match. It's the highest stakes, a huge comeback. Before we get into it, you were there at the first leg of this matchup. You were reporting from the sidelines. Can you tell us about your experience at the stadium and your expectations before the game?
Oh, it was such a good atmosphere. We had about 35,000 in the stadium, which is a record attendance for a women's game in Lyon. The noise was unbelievable. The fans were there in their numbers. They just absolutely loved it. They loved the occasion. The noise in the second half, Sam, was unbelievable. It was incredible. And when Lyon started getting back into that game, and like you said, 3 goals in 6 minutes to come back from 2-0 down, it erupted. And I think the fans and the atmosphere was just so key in helping them turn it around. And I was presenting pitch side pre-match, half-time and full-time. Full-time, could not hear anything in my ears. I was obviously had an earpiece in, trying to listen to the gallery, trying to listen to my pundit that I was talking to. Couldn't hear anything because it was so loud. Lyon fans were just loving life. And I'm not surprised because I think that was like the best half of football that I have seen.
I know. Well, so clearly the Lyon fans responding loudly, so excited about the comeback. Lyon were the favorites here. They boast one of the most star-studded lineups in any women's football program in the world, including American hero Lindsey Horan. Meanwhile, PSG are kind of like perennial second placers. They're kind of always trailing behind Lyon in domestic competition. So when the match kicks off and PSG go up 2-0 with 2 goals from Marie-Antoinette Katoto, what was going through your head? Like, where did Lyon falter to allow themselves to get into this hole?
I think PSG are a really good side, and it's really easy to sort of write them off when you're talking about Lyon, because you look at Lyon and you look at all of their successes, particularly in Europe when they won 5 Champions Leagues back to back. They just have so much success. They don't know how to lose. It's just not in their DNA. And I think, yeah, PSG had the lead. They've got some brilliant players, some really, really good young players, especially up front. So it wasn't necessarily a shock that PSG took the lead. But I think the feeling always was Lyon are going to come back into this. Somehow they're going to come back into it. Maybe they're not going to win, but they could draw this game because they were always in. They had so much possession in that first half. And even though PSG scored, Lyon were the dominant side. So I think in that second half, everyone was expecting them to come back. Maybe not quite in that manner. But they, like I said, they just don't know how to lose. And I think as soon as Lyon scored that first goal, maybe PSG's head sort of dropped a bit. I think Lyon psychologically had the edge over PSG. And that's where, when they scored that first goal, I think they had it just benefited them massively.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we're talking about these, again, 3 goals in 6 minutes. The second half was really all Lyon. Goals from Diani, Dumornay, and Majri. PSG, like you said, yes, some less experienced younger players on their squad, but they are only down 1 goal. They have another leg to play. They're at home this time. What does PSG need to focus on to not let the occasion get the better of them, to use the talented players that they do have to overcome Lyon to try and make it to that Champions League final?
I think they've just got to keep doing what they did in that first leg, in that first half. They went into the game knowing that Lyon were going to sort of have the edge. But PSG know how to play against Lyon. If any team knows how to play against Lyon, it is PSG. And there's no denying that PSG is starting to close that gap. So it's just about staying composed, trusting in yourself, trusting in your players, trusting that you can actually beat this side, because they have beaten them before. It's not off the cards. It's not out of the question. They can do it. It's just that confidence. And they're going to be playing at home, which I think is going to be key, because those PSG fans are so loud, and that will be hopefully a sellout stadium. I think that, at least a record-breaking crowd there. So, I wouldn't rule PSG out of this.
We do need to ask you for a prediction, Betty. After seeing the first 2 legs, who do you think is going to be at the Champions League final in Bilbao on May 25th?
Oh my God. Do you want me to answer with my head, or do you want me to answer with my heart?
Heart. I want a heart, an emotional answer.
Wow. I think either way, Lyon probably will get the job done in Paris. And it's a shame because PSG they're getting really good. They've got Tabitha Chawinga up front, who's a Malawi international, who's got an excellent story. And I think she's such a threat in front of goal. But I do think Lyon, they've got the edge now, haven't they? And then the other semi-final for me is probably harder to call, because if I go with my head, I think Chelsea have stoked the fires in Barcelona, and I think we are going to see a Barcelona masterclass in that second leg. I think Barcelona are going to go to Stamford Bridge and they're going to think, absolutely no way are you going to be doing that again. They looked distraught afterwards. The last time they got beaten at home was 2019, right? So they are going to be distraught. But if I go with my heart, I think it would just be the perfect ending for Emma Hayes, wouldn't it? A Champions League final, a chance to beat Lyon, a chance to beat Sonia Bombasta, who, you know, everyone expects to take over from Emma, and that script is perfect, isn't it? So I'm going to say that it's going to be a Chelsea-Lyon final.
It would be so exciting to have a freshly Champions League victor Emma Hayes come to our U.S. Women's National Team with all the confidence in the world. Betty Glover, this was amazing. Thank you so much for being here with us at the women's game.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I've loved it.
What an amazing interview. Becky, I want to know your thoughts on the second leg of these matchups coming up this weekend. Who do you want to see win Champions League this season?
I mean, Sam, who do you want to see win Champions League?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I feel like I have like a couple of friends sprinkled throughout. Like I have a couple of friends on Barcelona. I have some friends on Chelsea. And obviously my future sister-in-law plays for Chelsea, Sam Kerr. Lindsay Horan plays for Lyon. So I feel like personally, I would love it for it to happen for one of my friends. But if I put my soccer podcast host hat back on, I would love to see Chelsea take it, for Emma Hayes to then come to our U.S. Women's National Team with this confidence of having accomplished something she's never done before and really like bring that energy into the U.S. Women's National Team. I am nervous for the game though, because I feel like Barcelona didn't play their best game this past weekend. And when Barcelona plays their best game, I've experienced this firsthand. I don't know how to beat them. Like they are just incredibly talented on every line. I feel like Lyon is going to hang on to their win. They just have that experience. So I'm really nervous, but I'm kind of rooting for Chelsea.
Oh, wow. You know what? I just want everyone to have a good time. Just kidding. Just kidding. I really have no dog in this fight.
Yeah.
I just really want to see these second legs not be cagey. I want them to be like bringing the best attacking selves of all the sides and just having them go at it and like may the best team win. I just don't want it to become a very defensive kind of like chess match. I really just want to see some of these players just light it up.
Yeah, when you just need a shot clock for the Champions League.
Yeah. What an idea.
Yeah. Okay, so to our listeners, we really hope that you enjoyed this new segment. We're so fortunate to have Betty Glover on to weigh in here. And by the way, if you have any ideas for other correspondents from around the world, there are certainly areas of the world that we're not covering as extensively. Any journalists that you rely on and trust to cover women's football, we would love to hear from them and get them on the show. So you can email us suggestions at womensgamemib@menandblazers.com. Big thanks again to Betty. Make sure you subscribe to Early Kickoff wherever you get your podcasts. Also, you can watch the second leg of these matchups this weekend, Saturday at 12:30. It's Chelsea versus Barcelona. And then on Sunday at 10 a.m., it's Lyon versus PSG. These games are being shown for free on DAZN. Okay. In the Women's Super League in England, we've been talking about this title race for weeks. Man City continued their quest for the title with a 5-0 win over West Ham. There was a brace from Bunny Shaw, a beautiful goal from Jess Park, who just dribbled all the way from midfield herself. Unfortunately, Bunny Shaw came off injured at halftime, so we're sending her well wishes. We saw her in a boot and on crutches, hopefully just momentarily, immediately after the injury. We're really crossing our fingers that that was all precautionary and that we'll see her again before the season finishes. But on a happier note, Bunny is our guest this week on Friendlies. We talked about her journey from Jamaica to Man City. She hadn't even planned on going pro after college in the first place. She planned on just going back to Jamaica. It's such a fascinating story that really gets to the heart of what it takes to be the Women's Super League's leading goal scorer. So you can check out that episode of Friendlies with Bunny Shaw on Thursday morning on this feed. Chelsea are 3 points back and 3 goals back in differential with a game still to play. So this title race is literally neck and neck, and we're going to keep you posted on how that shapes up. There's only 3 remaining weeks of the WSL season. There's a couple of big matchups for both Man City and Chelsea. Man City play Arsenal on May 5th. Chelsea play Man United on the final day of the season. That's May 18th. anything could happen here. Neither team can afford to drop any points with this race so tight. So we're going to see what happens. I'm very excited. Coming up this weekend for the NWSL, we have Angel City hosting the undefeated Kansas City Current Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern on Prime. That's a late one for me, Reba. Would you be staying up till 10 p.m. if it was 10 p.m. on the Pacific Coast?
Yeah, Sam, I would. Because this is what we do.
This is what we do. 10 p.m. is late. Questions for this game. Will Kansas City keep scoring? Angel City are without key players, Paige Nielsen and Amandine Henry, who they let go before the deadline. We'll see how the team continues to play without those two. They actually won versus the Courage this weekend, so can they keep up that momentum? We aren't going to want to miss that one. And then we also have the North Carolina Courage versus the Reign. That's at WakeMed, Saturday at 7 p.m. The Courage are coming off of a road loss, and they'll return to WakeMed. Their fortress, unbeaten, 12 games in a row at home, so they'll look to right the ship at home. Becky, what do you think makes the Courage so hard to play against when they're at home? Is it like a different kind of fortress?
I wish I knew, but it is very difficult to win there. I've only, I think, done it one time, and that was like during your guys' unbeaten season. And I was playing for Utah Royals, and we came in, and Britt Radcliffe had that like golazo.
I was just going to say it was Brittany Radcliffe, wasn't it?
It was Britt Radcliffe because she only scores golazos. And we somehow eked out that win. That's, I think, the one time that I have won at that field. So you are better equipped to tell me why you guys win so much there.
I know. I always, for some reason, felt like the field is big and that like it suited us so well and people would just show up and like the dimensions were just right for us.
Sure, I'll go with that.
That's not science. That's just
That's
a girl
vibes.
thinking something. That's just vibes. It's just vibes.
Just
Okay.
vibes.
Good luck to the Courage. You guys know I love you. Portland, your team, Becky, you are traveling to Chicago to take on the Red Hot Red Stars. That's on Saturday at 7:30 p.m. I will definitely be awake for that game. Any specific preparations you're making to play against Mal? Like, you know Mal. I think she's doing so great right now. Is there anything that you can share with us?
She is playing so great. She's such a great player. And, you know, I don't want to give away like all our tactics, but you can stop the ball at the source, so prevent it from even getting to Mal. But then when you get to Mal, you have to be very smart about how you defend her. But you can't overcompensate for Mal because she's got a lot of good players around her, and she's very capable of setting those players up, and those players are very capable of setting her up. And so you can't focus too much, but you have to focus the right amount on Mal.
So interesting. I do feel like Chicago, I know I'm just like standing Chicago so hard. I feel like they're building a good team chemistry. Something in how they celebrate their goals and how they're working together. I think Chicago has been one of the most pleasant surprises of this season so far, the way that they've come together and just the way that they're performing right now. So I'm really excited to watch your game, Becky. Best of luck. Late night on Saturday, we will have the Wave versus Bay. We're going to see a great game. I'm excited to see if Bay's stars, Kundananji and Oshuala, can get in behind Naomi Girma and Abby Dahlkemper. It's a big ask. Sunday closes out the weekend with Gotham hosting Louisville, and Gotham's looking to bounce back. They had a cagey game versus the Spirit last weekend. They just couldn't really find their form. Lynn Williams said after the game that they were looking to move on from it and play to their potential. And Gotham did see star center back Tierna Davidson step off the field due to injury. We haven't heard to what extent. So possibly, but hopefully not, another injury woe for Gotham and what seems like a little spell of them with, so sadly, Midge out for the season. Rose Lavelle hasn't been able to play yet, and now maybe losing Tierna, but we're going to hope not. Becky, when you're facing what feels like injury after injury to key players, how does the team respond to that?
I think you can respond in a lot of ways. I think when it's happening to your team, the players that are then next in line and asked to step up, I'm sure they're excited for the opportunity. They're not excited because of how the opportunity came to them. But I do think that these players are like, okay, here's my chance to contribute to the team. And then if I were the medical staff and high performance, the GM, then you're looking down and you're saying, okay, why are we picking up all these injuries? Are we loading too much? What kind of loading is it? Is it too much? Is it too little here or there? Are we lifting enough? And so I think as players, it's part of the business. You're just like next person up and like, let's go. But then the people that are in charge of healthcare, welfare, those kind of things, you need to start looking at processes.
Okay, let's go to the inbox. This week, we got an email from Betsy from New Bern, North Carolina that asks, Having played sports all my life, from softball and basketball to soccer, I know there is always someone on the team who does the majority of the hair braiding. My question is, who are all the hair braiders out there? Who's the one everyone is sitting down in front of pregame getting all those little wispies tucked away before the whistle blows? That's from Betsy from New Bern, North Carolina. Becky, I know you're doing that fishtail, and I need to know on all your teams, who's your hair braider? Fishtailer.
There have just been so many over the years. I mean, Amy Rodriguez, like she used to do it a bunch for me for club and country. Morgan Bryan a few times, Bella Bigsby, now Lauren Kozel. On the national team, Ashley Sanchez was helping me. Trinity's done it a few times. And then it got to the point where I was like, I am taking time away from your guys' warm-up where I need to stop. And I actually, one of the massage therapists started to braid my hair at the Gold Cup. And I was like, thank you so much for doing this for me.
Is your preference the fishtail, or will you do a braid too?
The braid, if you see the braid, it's because I had to do it myself and it probably looks terrible and all the layers are like popping out. If it's a fishtail, someone's done it for me because I have never learned how to do that to myself. My arms get too tired.
And you have long hair too. For a stint when I thought I was like cute, was doing like a little braid in the front, and Mary Speck would do that for me on the Courage. And like when I look back on it, I'm like, why did I ever stop? Because I was the cutest person in the whole world when I had a little braid in my hair. And then I was just like, I think during COVID, I don't know why, but I was just like, this is what I look like. And like everybody could just deal with it. And so I stopped doing the braid, but I like really regret it. Like I want to start doing it again.
Well, why not?
Well, I'll just do it when I make my butter.
I mean, yeah, exactly. I can't wait to see it next time we're podcasting together.
All right. Well, I'm going to braid it up. But yeah, Morgan Bryan would do it for me a couple times, but I learned how to do it myself, I think, because I was like, I need to be self-reliant.
Yeah, like when you went to City, were you doing it yourself?
No, I just started. That was during COVID. So
that's during COVID. Yeah, you're like, this is me.
I'm sure Lynn did it for me a few times too. But I love that question. I feel like everybody is getting a sense of the kinds of questions that I'm picking out of the email. So keep them coming, you guys. I really, really love them. Don't forget, you can send us in questions at womensgamemib@menandblazers.com. And we might even just read it out on the show and ask Becky and Lynn what they think about it. This is the end. Reba, we've completed another episode, but we have to leave our beautiful listeners with a good vibe.
I am going to say that we lost in North Carolina, and I was going around signing some autographs, taking some pictures, and I would say every other person was like, we love your podcast. Good Vibes is so great. We're really enjoying it. We listened to it on the way to the game, and I was not in a great place, but hearing these people say that, like, really, like, lightened and filled my heart.
Yeah.
And so I am saying thank you for the good vibes that you have given me. And I would like to just say that you never know what a little comment like that can do for a person's day. A little compliment, a little, hey, you did great in that meeting, or I really appreciated what you said there. And just like how that can really just change the tone of the entire day.
What a good vibe, Becky. I really love that. I can't really compete with that. So my good vibe is just butter. And I'm going to leave you all with
just
that.
Butter.
It's just butter. Just get some butter, slather it on, whatever. It's great. That is all for this week's episode of Good Vibes FC. Are you subscribed yet? I hope if you're listening that you are subscribed to this podcast feed. If not, subscribe right now, you sweet little smushy face. It is available wherever you listen to podcasts. We're also on YouTube, as you all know. We're also on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok. Follow us, subscribe, leave us a comment, leave us a note, leave us a good vibe. We love you so much. Don't forget, this Thursday morning, we have an interview dropping with Bunny Shaw. Make sure you listen to that to hear about her evolution at Man City, the Reggae Girls, and how she never even expected to be playing professional soccer. It's really, really a fun interview, and I can't wait to hear all of your comments on it on the interwebs. Next Tuesday, another rollicking Good Vibes with Lynn Williams. And this is it. All right. Goodbye.
I'm Becky Sauerbrunn.
And I'm Sam Ewis, and this is Good Vibes FC, the podcast that's like Monopoly. Because when it's over, you're so upset you just want to flip the table and scatter all the pieces and never pick them up again. Okay, love you guys. Bye.
Bye.